That topic for a moment. The president going to be addressing the economy as he heads to the Pacific Northwest, to Portland tomorrow. Some people there may be wondering, though, why he's not addressing a much bigger issue for folks in that part of the country. Crime has been a major problem. Shootings in Portland have skyrocketed, 390 so far this year. That's nearly 4 times more the total number of shootings in all of 2019. In addition, Portland is on track to match its record for total yearly homicides, a record that had not been topped since 1987, prior to last year. And then, making matters worse, the city's police force has seen some mass resignations. That has happened really over the past couple of years. And you remember the video, largely in response to some of those violent protests that we had seen, anti-police sentiment throughout that community. A lot of violence is impacted not just people who live there, but people who are working in the downtown corridor, the businesses. One officer who has seen it all is Sgt Schmoutz. He's Portland Police Union president. Sergeant, we appreciate you coming on tonight to talk to us about this. You know, as the president heads to Portland, the elephant in the room really is the problems that people in that community are facing day to day with crime. What do you think he needs to see and be told about the issues that you all face?
You know, I think that the real challenge in Portland right now is we are seeing kind of a new growth of crime victims that have never really experienced crime the way that they are right now. The real challenge in Portland, I mean, you mentioned the violent crime. We're having people who were born and raised just like myself in Portland, who can't bring their kids to the park, they're hearing nightly gunshots. They're seeing just an unbelievable amount of unrest. Our homeless issue is just really getting to a point of being tragic. I think it's really important that anyone who wants to understand what's going on in Portland just needs to drive through the city, needs to talk to the people who are being impacted by some of these decisions that have been made. And we just need help. We need more police officers. We need to fund and fully support law enforcement to make sure that we can make our city safe again. I recognize very, very well what you're speaking of. I spent 8 years in Seattle, and some of the problems that you all are facing in Portland, we saw happening and evolve over the time in Seattle. The homeless issue has been a big problem. How about gangs and drugs? What is the contribution of those elements to the problem? You know, violence is kind of manifesting itself in a lot of strange ways, and I think a lot of that comes down to the decisions that were made to take money away from things that were working. We know that about 30% of our homicides last year were in our homeless community, which is shocking and strange. It's different. Again, the inputs come from different places. When you take out things that are vital community service, we definitely are experiencing a spike in gang violence. But I don't know that you could even point to one specific thing, other than the fact that one of the main things that was defunded in 2020 was our gun violence team and our school police division that really were integral in building relationships with the community and ensuring that people, especially at a young age, who might be on a pathway to violence, had options, had ways to kind of divert themselves from the criminal justice system. So that was a big piece of what's been going on here.
Sergeant, so if you could bend the president's ear tomorrow when you talk to him about funding the police and support for police officers right now in a community like Portland, what would be your message to address the issue, not just in your city, but in Seattle, in Chicago, in New York recently with the crime spikes?
You know, I think that the most important thing when it comes to law enforcement is when we take things away from law enforcement, it causes generational damage. And so when things happen in our country, we can have real conversations about accountability. We can have real conversations about how to ensure that our officers are properly trained and properly supported and properly funded. But we must have the courage and the stamina to stop and listen and not act immediately when these things happen. Because the reality is when we do that, we see what happened in Portland. We see a huge chunk of police officers leaving these major metropolitan areas, and it takes decades sometimes to restore that level of support. So it is really, really important for us to sit and listen to everyone, including law enforcement, and have the courage again and the stamina to not overreact and not make legislation that completely destroys the ability of police officers to do their jobs. We have to have the courage and the stamina to listen together and not just act.
Well, I hope as the president is there tomorrow talking about infrastructure and some of his plans, the economy, that he pays some close attention to the situation that you all are facing. Portland Police Union President Sgt Schmoutz, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.